going on, guys? Alex here with 814ADC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on a knife that really surprised me, and I did not expect it to like it as much as I did. The Kansept Knives Loki. So this came in via the Lefty passaround group. It was part of a package involving this and the CMB TNB. And the Loki really, when I unboxed that video, I did both. I got two packages from the Lefty passaround group. I got this one and the TNB from CMB. And then I also had the Tuya Voodoo and the Kaiser Sub 3 OBK. So I got both packages together, unboxed them in one video. And out of those four knives, this one was definitely my favorite. It really just, again, surprised me how much I like this knife. This thing is ergonomic dream. And I think that it's going to be a very positive review. And this is my first Kansept I ever handled, so I was pretty stoked about that one too. I've handled Kansept OEM knives, but I have never handled a, direct from Kansept, one of their like model knives. So I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, huge again, huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty DC for always providing us really dope stuff. When you have half the content that I do without you, Kev. So always appreciate it, my guy. Now, before we start the review, there are 4 different variations of this knife. I did check on White Mountain Knives, but they're all sold out on there. So I'm leaving a link to Kansept's website down below, where it looks like one is out of stock, but the rest are in stock. This one is in stock. So you have this version with the blue anodized handle. You have a version with a black anodized handle and a black blade. You have the same black handle with the Damascus or Damasteel blade, and then you have a black blade with a bronze anode titanium with a frag pattern on the back half of it, which looks really good. So 4 different variations of it. They all fall right around the same price point, which is really nice. But we're going to jump into this specific version. So again, blue anode titanium scales with these 2 marks or 2 lines here on the side. I'm not a huge fan of that. I wish the whole scale or the whole, both scales were anode blue. I don't really like the lines there. That's one small nitpick. You have a milled titanium pocket clip back here. Frame lock. It's an S35VN with I believe this is I'm calling it a warm, they're calling it a drop point, but it definitely has a nice belly to it. You kind of have some poons going on along here, which works really nice in the ergo department. You have this opening hole, which is kind of new for me. It's like an upside down, it's like frowning here, and then it's smiling here. You have plenty of lock bar access. You have a couple milled pockets on both sides of the scale for weight relief. Titanium backspacer. It's on bearings. S35VN, like I said, right there. Kansept with so you have the Kansept logo, you have S35VN, and then you have the model number. And then over here you have Loki, and then you have the designer's maker's mark. So overall length is 6.88 inches, blade length of 2.99 inches, blade thickness of 0.125 inches. Again, S35VN. Considered a drop point, but this is a very, very funky looking drop point in my opinion. Flat grind, of course it's satin blade, plain and blue anode titanium. Comes in at 3.7 ounces, so nice and lightweight. And the designer is Steve Dunnick. I'm not familiar with his work. I don't know if I've ever handled anything from his before. I know I haven't handled anything from his before, but I'm not sure if I have seen anything from his before. But he has a really good design going on here. So, everything all together, anode tie, S35VN, frame lock, milled clip, got to give it a 5. Again, like I said in multiple, videos before, it has to be a pretty bad knife with some pretty bad materials not to get a 5. I'm pretty lenient in that category. At least I try to be. But next up is aesthetic. And honestly, this is a very funky looking knife, but I really, really like it. It's different, it's unique. With the blade hole and the way the blade is the cutting edge is much lower than the actual handle itself. I am not a fan, like I said, of the blue with the plain titanium. I wish I would have just done it in one color, and they do the same thing with the black. This is blackened on the other knife models or other knife variations, and then this is plain tie. So simply for that, I'm going to give it a 4.5. If it was fully blue and fully, in it on both sides, it would be an easy 5, but I can't get over, it just kind of bugs me a little bit. But the rest of the knife is very, very good. Now we have action, and the action on this is, again, surprised me. I'm used to holes in blades for deployment methods, but this is definitely different. I'm not, never really handled anything like this before, but detent is nice and snappy. You guys can hear it snapping back into place. No blade play at all. Middle finger flick works phenomenally. The reverse flick does. You just kind of dig your nail right into that hole and it flies right out of there. Thumb flick works very well as well, but it's definitely not as intuitive and not as easy to use as the thumb flick, because with the with the reverse flick, again, you're using your nail to pop that out of there, and you get really good, kind of a thundering thwack. Whereas your thumb flick, you are kind of just digging like the meat of your thumb pad in there and popping it out, and it works very well. Like, it's not, hard to use. It's just a little bit like less intuitive, and you kind of have to push a little bit more like down into the blade to get it to pop out. But for me, the middle finger flick, the reverse flick, whatever you want to call it, is the real shining star. It just fires out of there. You can slow roll it, which also works really nice. You kind of just, again, push your thumb into there, rolls right out. Now the closing action is so smooth. Drops to your thumb, drops to your thumb, micro shakes. You can do it over here. Yeah, there we go. Just very, very smooth. It's on bearings, like I said. So honestly, from a fidgetability factor and a fidget factor scale, I was very surprised by this, but I'm going to give it a 5. I think it's very, I'm going to give it a 4.5 because, again, the thumb hole here for the thumb flick takes a little bit getting used to. So for that aspect, I'm going to take half of a point for it. But the closing action is just buttery smooth. The middle finger flick action is one of the probably best I've handled in a while. It just snaps out of there. And very fun, very, very fun to fidget with. Next up is acoustics. You guys can hear that. Gives you that little high pitchedness of it. The wax out of there. Very fun to listen to. Has great acoustics. So that's going to get a 5. Just listen to that. Just fires out of there. Really, really good. Sounds awesome. And next up is ergos, which is arguably the best part on this knife. This thing just fits your hand like an absolute glove. It is really, just very, very shocking how comfortable this knife was. Because when I got it, I was like, when I first saw the model on Instagram, things of that nature, I was like, it's kind of a funky looking knife. And then I saw Kevin get it in, and Kevin was basically blown away of how comfortable this knife is. And that's kind of how I am. It looks like it's funky, but it works so well. You do have, it's kind of a simple handle design. You have a slant back here, and then it's pretty straight across right here. Comes down, tapers off, and then it's a little bit of a curvature. And you do have this choil up here. It's kind of I'd say it's like a 75-25 choil maybe. So I guess you can technically choke back on this knife. I can still get all 4 fingers on here. My pinky is kind of just hanging on for dear life. But your thumb does land right in this little recessed area. So you definitely can use that. I don't know why you would ever, when you have this model, why you would ever handle it like this. Maybe for some chopping into things, I guess. You get a little bit more leverage. The pod clip works really well from an ergo department. It's not causing a hot spot. It's a mode clip, so it's pretty flush to the scale. And I can feel it, but it's definitely, again, not causing a hot spot whatsoever. Now, the true, star of the ergo department using this choil, you choke up, your thumb can land here. but I prefer to put my thumb out here onto this next sort of poon area. And to me, this is just ergonomic perfection. The titanium is nicely rounded and contoured, on the edges. No sharp edges whatsoever. You can barely feel the paw clip. And to me, this just gives you so much control, so much, power over what you're doing. If you're doing push cuts, if you're like ripping into things, if you're dropping into things of that nature, it works so well. To me, this is basically glued into your hand. It's not going anywhere. You have no risk of this falling out of your hand. I guess one little nitpick is like your finger is very close to the blade, but it's just so comfortable. And I saw, Kevin said, because he's a lefty, obviously, so the frame lock for him with the middle finger flick doesn't really work too well. But he said if you're a righty, this thing is a great knife, and I absolutely agree. An easy 5 out of 5 on the ergo department. This thing is one of the most comfortable knives I think I've handled in quite some time. It's very, very easy to grip into, easy to pick up and use, and it's just so comfortable. So very, very happy with how this knife feels in hand and how it performs from a cutting task. You do have a decently thick blade stock, so the blade it comes down to a decently thin edge, but it's not the best slicer in the world. For EDC tasks of cutting through cardboard, maybe not the best, but for opening packages, opening tape, cutting through labels, this thing does really good at it. And pinch grip works really good. Reverse grips work really good. You can definitely use this if you need to, do some slicing, fighting with it if you have to. It locks your hand in there. So really every grip that you want to use is knocked out of the park with the Loki. I'm very, very impressed. But next up is carry. Now this is not a loop over style deep carry clip. It is a milled clip, and you have about that much sticking up out of your pocket. It's not, I really don't have too many complaints with it. It is, they went about as far as they could go with the clip. It's not like the clip is mounted down here and you have like that much sticking out of your pocket. From an aesthetic standpoint, the clip looks so good. It is a little bit long. I feel like it could have been a little bit shorter, but that's just a nitpick of mine. I don't like when clips are super duper long. But carries well, sits in your pocket well. You have no sharp edges, no jimping over here, just nicely rounded off and edged titanium. I don't know why I said aluminum. I'm starting to do so many reviews today. I'm starting to put my reviews together. But sits in your pocket very well, so you have no risk of, since there is no jimping, no flipper tab, you don't have a risk of when you're down in there, reaching to get things, pulling it up out of there, which is great. I've carried this in jeans. I've thrown this in my sweatpants and my shorts a lot around the house just to fidget with it, and it carried well there. You can't really feel it. It is coming in at, what did it say? 3.7 ounces. So, and honestly, it feels lighter than that. So no complaints at all there. Carries well. Now, one thing I guess I could have, could take a little bit of points away for is it could have been a lefty clip, but it's a frame lock, so I kind of get that. It's already kind of a, not lefty friendly as it is. So I'm going to give it a 5. I don't want to knock it there, because if it was a liner lock, if it was something other than that, that's easier for lefties to actuate, I would have taken half a point to a 4.5, but I don't think a lefty clip is absolutely necessary with this knife. Now that takes me to my final category of price point / value and what I recommend this knife. The price point on the Kansept Knives Loki is $159.89. So 160 bucks for this. You're getting S35VN, you're getting a anode blue titanium scales. They're considering it a drop point, but it's a very interesting looking blade, very usable. One of the best ergonomic experiences I've ever handled with a knife, so it's super duper comfortable. Great action, a really, really good reverse flick as well. One of the better I've handled in a little while, which is, again, kind of surprising. Great acoustics. So I think for 160 bucks, that's very fair. I can absolutely recommend this knife. I think I'm going to miss this when I no longer have it in my possession anymore. So maybe down the road, if I've had a good deal on it, I might pull the trigger and add one to the collection, because again, it's unique, it's different, and I really enjoy that. I think it's a great new avenue for Kansept. I think maybe I could see a budget model of Kansept coming in, maybe some 14C, some micarta, things of that nature I think would be really good. But I think there's a lot of different variations and a lot of different avenues to explore for for Kansept and for Steve Dunnick, the designer. But so yeah, I can absolutely recommend it. I'm going to give it a 5 on the value scale. Let me add this up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 25 plus 9 is 34. So this is falling in, or excuse me, I got a 34 here for the Kansept Knives Loki, and that is falling in the fantastic knife category, which is very well adequate for this knife. I was expecting it to do really well, and really well it did. So yeah, 34 falls right in the category of fantastic, and I think that's a fitting score for this knife. But leave a comment down below. Did you guys pick up a Loki? Were you considering it? Were you thinking about it? Do you think it's ugly? Do you think it's cool looking? Love to hear what you guys have to say. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.